Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be learning about the volume and you will be able to work on 11.2. Today students will be able to find the volume of a cylinder. And before we start, I just wanted to ask you, so this is the Cavalieri's principle. If we stack coins, okay, if we stack coins on top of each other, that occupies a certain amount of space, and that's what volume is. But then if we move the coins so that they're arranged in this way, the question is, does it change the volume or the space that it occupies? If you think about it, it's the same material, is just tilted a little bit, but still is the same space that it's occupying. Okay, something else that I would like for you to think about is about the height. If you move it or tilt it a little bit, is the height different? Well, stacking the coins on top of each other and just tilting it to the side or a little bit doesn't change either the height, the base, which is the circle in here, it's still the same base. The height is the same, and the volume, meaning the space that it occupies, is also the same, okay? So it says, look at a cylinder. It has a circle, has a base, okay? So in here we don't see it, but the base is a circle. And the height, which is this part right here. For all prisms and cylinders, the volume is just the base times the height. Now in here, we're not talking about like when we have a rectangle or a square where you're just multiplying base times height to find the area of a flat figure, okay? That's just the area, is base times height with lowercase b. In here, this b represents the base, which is the area of the whole base. So it's a flat figure at the bottom, okay, of that three-dimensional figure. So that's what this b stands for, the area of that base. Okay, we have to find the area of that circle first and then multiply times the height, which will be this one right here. Okay, so now that we have that, let's work with this one. It says find the volume, and we have that the radius is equals to 3 inches and the height is 10 inches. It doesn't say, but it's 10 inches. And so the volume is going to be equal to base times height, but again, is the base down here, the whole area. Okay, again, is the area of that base, that foundation. And so in here, since it's a circle, we learned yesterday that the area of a circle is pi r squared times height, which is this part right here. So the volume, meaning the space that this shape occupies, is 3.14 times radius, which is 3 square, times the height, which is 10 inches. And so we, according to PEMDAS, first we're going to do exponents, and so it's going to be 3.14 times 3 square is 9 times 10. And so the volume is equals to, I'm going to multiply 9 times 10 first, so it's 90. You can do it this way first, that's fine. Times 3.14. And so 90 times 3.14, I'm just going to leave add the 0 and start multiplying 9 times 3.14. So 9 times 4, 36, carry the 3. 9 times 1 is 9, 10, 11, 12, carry the 1. 9 times 3 is 27, and 1, 28. We have 2 decimal places, so we're going to go back 1, 2, and that's where we put our decimal point. We look at the unit. The unit is inches, but since we're talking about volume, this is a three-dimensional figure, so we're gonna put that it's cubic inches. So we put a little 3 as an exponent for the inches, okay? And so that's gonna be the answer, 282.6 cubic inches. We have one more here. And so it says find the volume. The difference in here is that they're giving you the diameter instead of the radius. And if they're giving it to you down here, is the same as if they gave it to you over here on the top. So the radius is always going to be half of the diameter. So the radius will be half, which is equals to 5 centimeters then. And so we're going to use the same formula. Volume is equals to base times height. The base is, again, pi r squared times height. Pi is 3.14. The radius, we already found that it's half of the diameter, which is 5 squared. The height is this height right here, which is 4. According to PEMDAS, I'm going to do the exponent first. So 5 squared is 25. And then times the height, which is 4. So again, remember that we can multiply this first, or even sometimes we can decide to multiply this first. For me, it looks like this will be easier. 4 times 25 is just like saying 4 quarters gives me $1, or meaning 100 pennies. Okay, 4 times 25 is 100 times 3.14. So this is another trick that you can learn. Whenever you have a power of 10, meaning 10, 100, 1000, you can just count how many zeros you have in there, and you move the decimal place, the decimal that many spaces. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So the decimal ends up here, meaning that if it's at the end, you just don't write it, okay? So it's gonna be, the volume is equals to 314. The unit of measurement will be cubic centimeters. Okay? Now, let's say that this doesn't have, in class actually I didn't have that. So what you would put is just, instead of cubic centimeters, you just put cubic units, because we don't know the unit that they're using, so you can just put cubic units, okay? So 314 cubic units if they don't have that, what type of measurement they're using, or what kind of unit. Okay, so from the Cavalieri's principle, you'll learn that even if the cylinder is a little tilted, you still get the same volume. So again, the volume is equals to base times height, and the base is pi r squared. We have pi because it's 3.14. We have the radius is right here. But what about the height? We don't know the height. This side is not the height because that's not telling me how tall this tower is. This will be the height. The height is always perpendicular to the base, okay? So how do I find that height? Well, if you recall from previous lessons, this is going to be my hypotenuse. This is the height, and this is, or actually we know them as long leg and little leg, or short leg, and the hypotenuse in a right triangle. So we have the a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so you're gonna replace, remember that the hypotenuse is always the longest side, and that's always the letter C. Okay, so we already know that that's 15 squared. For A and B, they can be exchanged. So it doesn't matter which one is A and which one is B, as long as you know that this is always C. The hypotenuse is always C. So we're going to have A squared plus 9 squared. Okay, so A squared, you can replace it with H if you want. H squared plus 9 times 9 is 81. 15 times 15 is 225. Since we want to leave H by itself, we're going to subtract 81 from both sides. And I'm running out of space here. So we have left H squared is equals to 5 minus 1 is 4. We borrow here. 12 minus 8 is 4 and bring down the 1. The last step is to take the square root of both sides to get rid of that square. So the square root cancels the square and we end up with H equals the square root of 144 is 12. And so my height is 12. Now I have that because we found the height. Okay, so now that we have the height, we can start plugging in. The symbol of pi is 3.14. The radius is 4. So it's going to be 4 squared. The height is 12. We do exponents first. So it's going to be 3.14 times 4 times 4 is 16 times 12. And so for this one, I'm going to use my calculator. So it's 3.14 times 16 times 12. And so the answer is 602.88. The unit of measurement is meters, so it's going to be cubic meters. Okay, so that's how much space this uses. When would you use volume? Well, basically all the containers that you have, like when you have canned food or even liquids, it's whatever fits in those containers, that's the volume, to see how much you can go in or fit in there. Also, somebody in class said the swimming pool, when you have to fill it up with water. So anything basically that occupies space, that will be volume. So now you're ready to work on 11.2. Have fun. However, I do want to explain how to multiply this with decimals. Why? Because for the entrance or placement test in college, you might need to do it without the calculator. So I recommend that you do the whole numbers first. So 12 times 16. 2 times 6 is 12, carry 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 is 3. 1 times 16 is 16. You just add, and you get 2, 9, 1. So that's the answer of 12 times 16. But now you have to multiply by 3.14. So 192 times 3.14. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 9 times 4 is 36 and carry 3. 9 times 1 is 9. 10, 11, 12. Carry 1. 9 times 3 is 27 and 1 is 28. And then 1 times 314 is just 314. You add that. Remember to leave one space in the second row and 2 spaces in the next one, and so on. Okay, and so you put 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. 4 and 6 are easier to add, so that's 10, 11, 12. Carry 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, carry 1. And then 3 plus 2 is 5, and 1, 6. 2 decimal places, so you have to go back 1, 2, and that's the 602.88 cubic meters. Okay, so now you're ready to do 11.2 and have fun.